We've seen 36 games already, and that wraps the group stages of the Africa Cup of Nations. And we've seen lots of big teams struggling to even book a ticket. Cameroon jubilated qualification into the round of 16 like they won the Africa Cup of Nations, as Mauritania kicked out the likes of Algeria, and we even saw Ghana being kicked out of the competition. All of these have made lots of people to describe the Africa Cup of Nations as a competition for the minnows, especially this year's edition, as the minnows are taking charge as we speak. Olusola Adebayo is my name, welcoming you to another edition of Clear Sport, where we talk about the AFCON, as we'll take you straight from Lagos to Abidjan to give you how everything is being panned out at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Samson is here with me, and it's been so good doing this with you every time.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to be here again. And as you said, yes, the minnows are really stepping up to the challenge from the big guns. I like the fact that we're seeing upsets, and it's not just a one-off. We've seen that repeatedly, in various groups. From Group A, where you had Equatorial Guinea, surprisingly topping a group that had Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria, down to Group B, where it was Cape Verde who topped, in a group that had Ghana, four-time champions, and Egypt as well, the most successful team in the history of the competition. So it's a whole lot. And I like the fact that, as I said, it's not just a one-off. The minnows are really stepping up, showing that football is the most beautiful sport and the most exciting of them all.
All right, we'll be looking at the minnows and how far they can go, since a large chunk of them are in the round of 16 already, and they will be pulling their weight once again. And that is their story that has made the Africa Cup of Nations this year a competition that is thick and making everybody talking about it and also following it with all energy and gusto. All right, we'll be looking at the Super Eagles games. We've seen 3 matches already, and we'll be assessing the strength and weaknesses in that squad. Can they really do it again, or rather have them shown that they are ready to do it again? We'll be going straight to Abidjan as well to talk to Said Afolabi. He's a man on the ground, our eyes there, and he's been monitoring things in the camp, especially the team bonus. We know every time when the team qualifies into the round of 16 or knockout stages like this, they always want to collect their bonuses and allowances before their games. I hope those issues will not be coming up this time around again. So we'll be talking to Said to give us update on that one, as well as the injuries worries around the squad and the other news coming from the Super Eagles camp after 3 matches being played. Then we'll talk trending issues around the AFCON, as we look forward to the round of 16 games in a couple of days. Go nowhere. We'll be back after this. All right, welcome back to the show. It's still Clear Sport, and let's begin to look at the nitty-gritty of the game seen so far, especially the stories around the minnows. The story of Mauritania comes to my mind, and you want to believe that Algeria, based on their last time experience in 2019, defending champion, get crashed out in the first round, that they will have learned something from this one, and probably they have learned, but it doesn't just work for them, because prior to this competition they were doing fine, good qualifying rounds, good friendly games. In fact, they were on a run of 14-15 games without any loss, but when the competition started, they failed to win their first 2 games, and we said, okay, maybe it's just the competition. Let's see how far they can go. But everybody expected them to qualify because they are playing Mauritania, and boom, they are out. Mauritania scored their first 3 points in the competition. Their first free is enough to take them to round of 16. And Algeria, champions 5 years ago, failing once again to pick another victory in the last 5 years. They are yet to win any game at the AFCON. And Mauritania that is just coming, beating them to it and picking a round of 16 ticket.
The beauty of the sport. I mean, that's why the word upset exists, in football, because the minnows can sometimes punch above their weight. I think for Algeria, it's more worrisome how they've declined over the last 5 years. You talked about how they won the Nations Cup in 2019. This is 2024, just 5 years. And within that span, they've crashed out of 2 groups, 2 AFCONs at the group stage. They also failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup. So something is definitely not right with the Algerian squad. You look at the squad itself, in terms of talents, they definitely have the array of talents. We can go on and on with the names, from the midfield down to the defense line, even the attacking line, where Riyad Mahrez is the talisman. But for whatever it is, the team lacked cohesion. In the 3 matches we saw them play, there was no balance whatsoever. And it was probably as a result of that concern that the coach did that shake-up going into the game against Mauritania by benching Riyad Mahrez as well as Nabil Bentaleb. But we saw him bring, Mahrez in at halftime when they were a goal down, trying to stabilize things. It just hasn't worked for them. I think they would need to look inwards and find out what exactly it is. It is difficult to pinpoint what the challenge is. I think it's multifaceted. And more importantly is the players also have to look inwards and ask themselves, have they been committal to the Algerian cause in terms of, competing favorably for the title? I don't think the players have played so well.
I noticed one thing in your analysis. You strictly focus on the Algerians, which means it's probably the Algerians fail to do what they need to do, and the Mauritanians just pass. Or you want to just neglect the fact that the Mauritanians were so good?
No, I think for Mauritania, it's a really Cinderella story. Great story. You have to praise, Ahmed Yahya, their FA president, who changed the face of football in Mauritania barely a decade ago in terms of how he was able to set up a youth team, a functional league, and basically developed football there. In fact, Mauritania is one of the few African countries that FIFA did acknowledge that they spent judiciously the FIFA funds, 10 million euros at the time. So we need to give Mauritania praise, no doubt about it. They've done well, qualified for the AFCON Cup of Nations for the first time in 2019, did the same thing in 2021, and this is their 3rd appearance. Now they're finally able to get a victory, and the victory got them, into the knockout stages.
It's against a former champion,
2-time champions
of recent
exactly
memories. So,
exactly. So you have to give Mauritania credit.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that away from them. I think that it's not been a fantastic tournament for them. Yes, because they lost 2 and ended up winning the most important of them all just by a goal. But I think you have to give them credit for how they fought. Even when they were 3-1 down against Angola, we still saw that fight in the second, round of games from the group.
Good. One thing about Mauritania is that in less than how many years they are able to grow from 0 to this level. I think FIFA themselves will have to look and say, okay, thank God that we actually give them that money to start off, and they were able to use it judiciously. Maybe other countries will have to do to toe their line. Morocco is another team that is towing their line, and we are seeing some of the flashes of the result, but we expect them to those results to start germinating, and maybe they may likely win this spot. That's another topic for another day. Another team that is getting my attention is Equatorial Guinea. Yep. Suddenly, they are no longer looking like a small team, because when the Super Eagles played 1-1 draw against them, everybody were like, oh, the Super Eagles were shambolic, they failed to beat this small side, but they went on to score 4 goals back to back.
The beauty about this tournament is we've seen the Minos step up. We've also seen mid-level teams also rise to the occasion. Equatorial Guinea is not, in the same bracket as probably Mauritania. So you can't really call them this, a small team in that case. You probably won't put them at
But when you put them
mid-level
in the same pot as Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria. Then they have
Definitely in that sense. I think you have to give them credit. Offensively, they've been great, and that's what I like about them. And that's the name of the game. You outscore your opponents. That's the only way you can win a football game. So if your opponent scores 2, ensure you score 3 goals and more to be able to win the game. Offensively, they are great, especially with their captain Emiliano Nsue, who is the top goal scorer thus far in the tournament. I think for Equatorial Guinea, there's nothing beyond them really. They may have defensive frailties that can be exploited by their opponents, but I think they have that belief, they have that courage that offensively they can always score goals, and that's something remarkable, especially with likes of Nsue. You have Pablo Garnett in the mix as well. You can't rule that out.
Okay. And another team that I have here is Cape Verde. Cape Verde came to Lagos, and is it a draw or victory in that last World Cup qualifiers? And since then, I've been looking out for them, and they've never looked back. And now they top their group as well.
Another team you have to look at and give credit to concerning how they approached the game. No one would I don't think the most optimistic Cape Verdean would have expected that in a group that had 7-time champions Egypt and 4-time champions Ghana, they would not only qualify but also top the group. Again, it shows you the place of belief. It shows you the place of discipline in the team. We've seen them over the course of 3 games, and definitely they are one of the dark horses of this competition at this point in time. Yes, you want to say early days, maybe the knockout stages will be different, but if the group stage is anything to go by from what we saw, Cape Verde would definitely be one of the dark horses. I think they are disciplined, they are compact as a unit. More importantly is they have the ability to grind out the results. We saw how they pushed Ghana to the limit, and at the death of the game, they snatched the victory. We saw the same thing with the Egyptians. In fact, it was the Egyptians who, had to recover at first before Cape Verde also snatched that late equalizer. So it's all about the belief for these smaller teams. And when we talk about developmental football, the same way we praised Mauritania, you also have to look at the history of Cape Verde and know that they've done quite well for themselves over the last 15 years.
All right, we'll see how far they can go in this competition. All of these smaller teams that have shaken the foundation of the AFCON so far, that is making everybody to start talking about the AFCON. For me, the AFCON have actually outshone other competitions that are going on, like the EPL and the rest, and the stories would not be complete if not for all these smaller sides that are making the headlines each day by making sure that the big teams are failing to live up to expectation. But one of the big teams that probably get the job done, and a lot of people are reacting to how the Super Eagles qualified for the round of 16, and who also reacts to it. We will look at the weaknesses and the strength of the Super Eagles as the promise that they want to do it again by winning the competition the way they've done in the past, 3 times in the past, and now they've satisfied the first stage of that promise, and they are in the next round. We'll look at the Super Eagles when we come back. Go nowhere, Clear Sport will make a return.
Do you love football? Calling all football enthusiasts. Dive into the adrenaline-packed world of AFCON 2023 and join the passionate crowd supporting the Super Eagles. Be part of the action at one of the 20 epic viewing centers across the state, set up by the Lagos state government. As the Super Eagles vie for their 4th AFCON title, the Lagos is a Goal initiative invites you to be part of this football extravaganza as we transform each viewing center into a cauldron of support and cheer our Super Eagles to victory. That's not all. Get in on the excitement at our viewing centers with the Predict and Win competition. Predict football match outcomes for a shot at winning 50,000 Naira. 20 lucky winners will each take home this fantastic cash prize. So, grab your jerseys, bring your flags, and immerse yourself in the magic of Lagos is a goal. It's more than just a game. The goal is to foster unity among Lagosians, particularly the youth, encouraging them to unite for a common purpose and create an inclusive atmosphere that transcends social boundaries, including gender, tribe, and religion.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's still Clear Sports, and Olusola Adebayo remains my name. I still have Samson Oloyede with me
Thank you
in
for
this
having me.
studio. Now, let's talk about Super Eagles. The job is done, but reactions everywhere. Lots of people are talking about the performances that is not good enough. I saw the Cameroonians jubilating like they've won the AFCON after they qualified for the rounds, even with 4 points. But the Super Eagles got 7 points, and people were sad, even on the night that they played out 1-0 victory over Guinea, Jiu-Jitsu of Benin. So, how do you react to this? 7 points, considered just one goal. Not so many teams have 7 points or consider just
Also
one.
scored 3 goals in 3 matches.
In 3 matches.
You know, the thing with the Super Eagles is, with football generally, sometimes it's not just about how you play the game or how you win, but also about the performance beyond the result now. What that means is the average Nigerian is glad that they've qualified for the next round, but they are not pleased with the performance. In other words, the result is good, but how they've played, the performance is not good.
But does it matter in football?
It does, actually. It does, because that's the place of entertainment. Yes, I get the place of pragmatic football sometimes over the sleek, rhythmic football that is popularly called or referred to as tiki-taka. But sometimes there's also the place of entertaining the fans. Now, let's get down to it. It is a tournament. The most important thing is for you to win. So results will definitely, you know, supersede performance, which is cool. But the worry for most Nigerian fans is that they've not impressed despite winning. We've seen the Cape Verdeans, how they've impressed. We've seen, you know, even the Egyptians that had 3 successive draws, they've been able to score 6 goals, although considered 6 goals.
Okay.
Now, let's bring it back to the Super Eagles.
All
Of the 3 matches we've played, we've scored a
3
goal
goals.
each,
Yep.
3 goals. But here's the breakdown. 1 was from the penalty spot, 1 was from open play, which was the Osimhen opener against Equatorial Guinea, and the 3rd was an own goal. So it doesn't instill confidence. You look at the caliber of teams we've played, beyond the Ivorians that seemed like the bigger, you know, or the big elephants there in that group. The others are similarly mid-level teams or minnows. So if we're struggling to score goals against teams like that, the big question for many is, how are we going to fare when we, you know, meet the big guns? We'll be playing Cameroon in the round of 16, but how will we fare when we meet, you know, a team like Senegal and the likes? So that there's a major issue with scoring goals, and the biggest culprit has to be the African Footballer of the Year. Victor Osimhen has uncharacteristically missed or spawned several chances, which is surprising to say the least.
All right, let's look at this. Some of the statistics of the Super Eagles at this Nations Cup after playing 3 games. They created the most chances, talking about 14, and they were able to convert just 3. Is that a weakness in the team? And if your answer is yes, how do we solve it?
It is. They didn't even convert 3, honestly. They converted only 1. And that's the truth.
But
You really
but
can't
we don't want to take away those.
No, you can't call
those,
an own goal.
Those are forced errors.
You can't call a first errors in terms of tennis. I get it. Now, you can't call an own goal converting a chance. Yes, you forced the own goal, but because you piled the pressure, but you didn't convert the chance.
That's true.
The same thing with the penalty. So, in actual sense, we may have created more.
How do we solve this? Because assuming Ewabale has not made those saves, Ewabale on his own had 8 saves across those 3 matches.
Exactly.
That means, let's say he allowed 3 of those saves to go in. Maybe we will have been out.
Exactly. So that's why I said the issue with the team currently has to do with the fact that offensively we're creating chances, but we are profligate in front of goal. And Victor Osimhen, who is the team's most attacking threat, is surprisingly the biggest culprit. So the question would now be, how does Pesero address this? There's Terry Murphy in there, the other strikers in there. Will it decide to give
to play?
Exactly, because of fitness issues, we know that. Paul Onuachu, will he decide to bench Osimhen? And how popular will that decision be? Because you also have to look at it. Sometimes you have to ditch the popular opinion for the better good of the team. Over 3 games, Osimhen has surprisingly missed chances after chances. And that is a big concern, because going into the knockout stages, the more chances you miss, you probably get to pay for it when you face a better team. So I think defensively, we've not really had much of, you know, concerns. We talked about the goalkeeper, who has been, immense ever since they came in, considering the subpar performances of Maduka Okoye and Francis Uzo in time past. You look at now that's looking at the spine of the team, the centre backs. William Trust Ekong, yes, back into form. I'm still dealing with knee issues, but you should get a look in against Cameroon as well. The midfield, we saw Joe Aribo start the last game, the third game for Nigeria. We talked about the issue of creativity, Alex Iwobi. I think the issue has to be with
the final ball,
itself,
into the back of the net.
And here's where it becomes more worrisome for, Pesero, the coach. If Osimhen is not making the right runs, if he's not getting into decent positions, then it becomes worrisome. But he's making the right runs, he's getting into
the balls,
the decent positions. It's just about the clinical finish that is lacking. So I don't want to be in Pesero's shoes now, but the truth is something has to give way. It's either Osimhen begins to get in the goals and be more prolific, or
you bring
in someone else.
Get the job done. Okay, we'll see how the team will patch all of those grey areas going forward. But they have a job at hand. They need to beat Cameroon if they want to qualify to the quarterfinals and continue the aspiration of doing it again. But with what we've seen so far across the first 3 games, what kind of first 11 do you have in mind that can because we've 3 different set of 11. How do you combine all of this into a perfect one?
Well, difficult to tell. It depends on how he wants to approach the game. And you look at it, the Cameroonians are quite physical. So will he decide to go with the 3-4-3 he tried against the Ivorians to, stifle the midfield and prevent the midfield that's from being overrun by the physicality of, the Cameroonians? That's the big question for him. I think the defense line will probably be unchanged in terms of Olaino, Ekong as well in the mix. Bali would definitely retain his shirt. He has justified being the #1 goalkeeper.
Let's look at
the middle, exactly.
Aribo came in the last game.
How impressed were we with his performance?
Probably he needs to go back to the bench.
Maybe Alex Iwobi would, definitely get there. I think offensively would still probably see Lukman. Maybe he was rested, in that third game. So Lukman should get a starting shirt.
And who joins the attack?
Again, that's another worry. Chukwueze sometimes does too much with the ball. His final, passes are also questionable sometimes. Offensively is where the major worry lies for Nigeria. I would also like to see how we can address the physicality of the Cameroonians going into the game itself. We should also consider that, for Nigeria, as much as we found it difficult to score goals, for Cameroon, that's not the case. They may be conceding, but they're also scoring. The last match was a 3-goal, 3 goals to 2 win over the Gambia. Even when they lost to Senegal, they still got on the score sheet. So you have to look at everything and then you decide, how do we address this? For a Cameroonian side that scored more than 4 goals, we need to also take that into consideration.
All right, let's join Said Afolabi all the way from Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire, where he's waiting to give us an update from the Super Eagles camp live and direct. All right, how are you doing, Said? Do you have an update on the injury situations in the camp? Because the last game we saw a kind of a different 11 where Ekong was missing, Hassan is there to get back, and probably we didn't see Lukman in the attack. Is it injury concern, or is there any worries for us going into the round of 16 as we will be playing Cameroon next?
Oh, good afternoon, Shalom. I'm live here at the Felix Stadium in Abidjan, the venue of the Super Eagles round of 16 game against Cameroon here in Abidjan. It has been a shocking result of the AFCON matches so far. Who would have believed that Mauritania would defeat Algeria to get their first ever win in the AFCON? So let's take that aside and go into the business of the Super Eagles. Al-Hassan Yusuf is still removed out for the last round of 16 tie against Cameroon. I was able to see him in the training session, training personally, and he's still playing. And that shows you that he's good at the game against Cameroon. For Ekong, it was a knockout, so AFCON will face a late fitness test to be decided to know if he can recover for that Cameroon game.
All right, Said, let's talk about the Super Eagles bonus because we know anytime we get into elimination stage of any competition, those issues will always come up. And do you have an idea whether the bonus has been paid or do you know whether it's going to be paid one after each of every matches or it's going to be paid in a lump sum?
Yes, for the Super Eagles bonus, winning a game will cost the NFL to win Super Eagles like $10,000 to win a game. A game will cost the NFL $10,000 per Super Eagles player. But though I think I don't know the exact one, so I will not want to go into detail because we have 2 wins at the draw. Able to say that I can confidently tell you that the federal government of Nigeria released 5 billion naira to the NFL for the Super Eagles AFCON logistics purpose for Super Eagles AFCON. A reliable source of the NFL Nigerian Football Federation actually told me that, but he asked for his name not to be mentioned confidently, and when I actually asked him for that, what is the reason why the Super Eagles players haven't been paid yet? That's why the federal government has given them or released 5 billion naira for the Brian Busso NFL, and he told me that the NFL are actually looking how to change the money to dollars. Well, I find that so controversial to me. No matter what, it shouldn't take long because we know money is a motivating factor for these players, and giving them their bonuses at the right time will extra motivate them because we are going into a crucial time against our perennial rivals, Cameroon.
Okay, it's been a massive 13 days of the coverage of the AFCON so far, and some of you guys will be resting today because there are no matches. Can you share with us how it's been covering the AFCON, the hazards, and all of that? We also heard that some of the guys had accidents on their way coming back from a game 2 days earlier.
Well, for like almost 2 weeks now at the Nations Cup, the host nation and CAF are doing their best in terms of logistics and purposes for transporting journalists to media centers and all the states that are hosting match venues. So we generally have to converge at the official media center, which is the center where the bus takes everyone down to their various match venues. Or sometimes there are some strategic buses placed at venues, maybe location or where some journalists actually reside that are far from the heart of our outreach, where they take us from those places down to the media center every day. So logistics purpose from the CAF and host nation has been fantastic, honestly, and I must commend the host nation for actually putting in place the best AFCON tournament so far for me here in Cote d'Ivoire.
All right, thank you, Said, for your time with us. We'll surely talk more when the Super Eagles play next. All right, that's the size of the show today. That's talking about Clear Sport, where we'll bring you all of the special from the Africa Cup of Nations. Hopefully, you join us next time on the show as we'll be previewing all of the round of 16 games that will be coming thick and fast from Saturday. Olusola remains my name. Thanks, Samson Oloyede, for being part of it.
Thank you very much for having me.